Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about someone whose style I think becomes more impressive the longer you look at it, and that is Gwyneth Paltrow. She's one of those women who never really chased fashion in a loud way, never tried to reinvent herself every few years, and never felt the need to explain her choices. And somehow, that's exactly why her style still feels relevant today. Gwyneth's wardrobe isn't about trends, shock value, or constantly doing something new. It's about consistency, confidence, and knowing when to stop. She dresses like someone who trusts her taste completely, and that calm self-assurance is really the core of her appeal. So in this video, I want to walk you through her style properly. Not just by pointing out outfits, but by understanding how her fashion language developed over time, how it evolved, and why it works so well in real life. This isn't a video about copying Gwyneth piece by piece. It's about understanding the mindset behind her wardrobe and seeing how that way of dressing can translate into your own style. If you had to describe Gwyneth's style in one sentence, it's this. She lets shape and fabric do the talking, and she keeps everything else on mute. Her outfits rarely have competing elements. You're not going to see wild prints fighting statement jewelry, fighting loud shoes. Instead, she'll pick one strong idea, a clean silhouette, a sharp suit, an architectural gown, and then she'll make sure the hair, makeup, accessories, and even the attitude all line up with that one idea. And that's why her looks photograph so well. Minimal styling doesn't mean boring styling. It means the cut matters more, the drape matters more, the shoulder line matters more. Even when she's wearing something simple, it's almost never sloppy. It's always intentional in a quiet way, like the outfit is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Sit cleanly on the body and look calm. You also notice she's not a trend collector. She doesn't build outfits by stacking micro-trends. She builds outfits around classics, tailoring, slip silhouettes, long coats, fine knitwear, and then she tweaks the proportions slightly depending on the era. That's the trick. Consistency in the foundation, flexibility in the details. In the 1990s, Gwyneth's style immediately stood out because it felt stripped back at a time when a lot of red carpet fashion was doing the opposite. She gravitated toward slip dresses, clean tailoring, straight silhouettes, and very little styling. Hair was natural, makeup was soft, and nothing felt overly constructed. There was no sense of performance, no trying to be sexy or dramatic. The confidence came from how well the pieces fit and how effortlessly they sat on her body. You can see early on that she understood proportion and restraint, which is something that would become a lifelong signature. The 90s are where you really see her style identity lock in early. A perfect snapshot is her first Met Gala appearance in 1995, where she shows up in a no-fuss, minimalist Calvin Klein look that basically reads like, "I'm not here to play dress-up, I'm here to look good." It's such a clean, stripped-back moment, and it's become one of those reference points people still bring up when they talk about 90s minimalism. What's interesting is that in this era, the styling is as minimal as the clothes. The hair isn't trying to be a moment. The accessories aren't screaming. This era really sets the foundation for everything that follows. The minimalism wasn't a phase or a trend for her, it was a mindset. And once you recognize that, it makes complete sense why her style has aged so well and why those 90s looks still get referenced today. Then she gives us a totally different kind of iconic. The red velvet Gucci suit at the 1996 MTV VMAs, designed during Tom Ford's Gucci era. This is one of those looks that fashion people never stop referencing because it's power dressing without being corporate and sexy without being obvious. And what I love about that suit moment is it reveals another Gwyneth rule that stays true forever. She can wear something strong, even masculine-leaning, but she'll keep the overall styling clean, so the tailoring becomes the statement. It's not, look at my accessories, it's look at this silhouette. Now we have to talk about 1999 Oscars, because that pink Ralph Lauren dress is a fashion history moment, whether you personally love it or not. It was worn at the 71st Academy Awards, and it became so widely discussed and copied that it literally gets treated like a cultural reference point. And it's still tied to her image today. The thing people miss is that even this princess moment is actually very Gwyneth. It's not overloaded with embellishment. It's sweet, yes, but still simple in construction, and the styling is restrained. That's the key. She'll do romance, but she does it in a clean way. She's never been frilly. And you can see how long that dress has followed her, because she's revisited it in modern Goop content years later. Not as a nostalgia gimmick, but almost as a reminder that the silhouette still works. In the 2000s, she gets smoother. The looks feel more refined and less finding herself. Tailoring becomes a steady anchor, and you can feel that she's dressing like someone with a very specific life. Meetings, events, travel, premieres, but she's still not doing loud fashion for the sake of loud fashion. This is where the Gwyneth uniform starts to become obvious. Clean lines, controlled palette, classic shapes. And honestly, once she hits this stage, she rarely leaves it. When Goop enters the picture, it starts as a weekly email newsletter in 2008 and grows into a full lifestyle universe. You can see the wardrobe align even more with the brand's idea of curation. Her style starts to look less like celebrity outfits and more like, this is how I live. Neutrals get stronger, fabrics look more natural and expensive, the vibe becomes calmer. Whether you love Goop or roll your eyes at it, the visual identity is consistent, edited, elevated, and built around quality. Then we get the 2012 Oscars Tom Ford white gown with the cape, one of the clearest examples of her style philosophy on a red carpet. It's minimal, but it's not quiet. It's architectural, it's shape-driven. It makes an impact because it has presence, not because it's covered in sparkle. And what makes this a very Gwyneth moment is that the styling doesn't compete. The hair is sleek, accessories are restrained, the dress is the headline, and everything else is supporting cast. That's the Gwyneth method at its best. In 2017, she returns to the Met Gala wearing Calvin Klein under Raf Simons, which feels like a full-circle nod to her 90s minimalism, but with a modern edge. That's also very on-brand for her. When she does fashion, she tends to do it through clean, iconic American minimalism rather than maximal spectacle. In the 20s, Gwyneth's style feels fully settled. There's no experimentation happening here, and that's intentional. The silhouettes are familiar, the palette is controlled, and the focus is almost entirely on fit, proportion, and fabric. Tailored trousers, clean blazers, fine knitwear, long coats, minimal dresses. These pieces show up again and again, but they never feel repetitive because the execution is always precise. What really defines this era is how she uses subtlety. She often leans into tonal dressing, keeping everything within the same color family and letting texture and structure create interest instead of contrast. The tailoring feels a bit softer, the lines a bit more relaxed, but still very polished. Nothing looks restrictive or overworked, everything looks wearable, comfortable, and considered. If you watch her red carpet history, she basically follows one rule. She lets the silhouette do the work. When she wants impact, she chooses structure. A cape, a column, a sharp shoulder. And then she edits everything else down. That's why the Tom Ford cape dress worked so well. It's minimal, but it's also dramatic in shape. And I also think it matters that her longtime stylist is Elizabeth Saltzman, because their partnership is part of why her style feels so coherent over time. Saltzman has spoken publicly about the realities of red carpet prep and the level of detail it takes, and you can feel that kind of precision in Gwyneth's best looks. They're never chaotic, never overdone. What's also really telling about Gwyneth's red carpet history is how rarely she relies on trends that age badly. When you look back at her most talked about looks, they're not memorable because they were flashy or shocking, but because they were clear. She consistently chooses designs that could exist outside of a specific year. Even when a dress is bold in color or shape, it never feels tied to a trend cycle. That's why so many of her red carpet moments still feel relevant today. They're built on proportion and structure rather than novelty. Another thing that stands out is how disciplined her styling always is. You don't see last-minute chaos in her looks. There's a sense of control, like everything has been considered and then deliberately simplified. Jewelry is minimal, hair is calm, makeup never competes. The outfit leads, and everything else follows. And that kind of restraint is actually very hard to do on a red carpet, where the pressure is always to do more. Gwyneth does the opposite. She edits down. And that's exactly why her presence feels so strong when she steps out. Her everyday style is where you really understand her logic, because it's not about a moment, it's about a system. She'll do tailored trousers, a good knit, a clean shirt, a long coat, pieces that behave well and always look polished even when she's just walking down the street. And she's not afraid of subtle interest either. Tonal dressing, a rich color choice in an otherwise simple outfit, a shoe that quietly upgrades the whole look. There's also something very practical about her palette. She lives in neutrals: khaki, navy, tan, gray, white. And it's not just aesthetic, it's functional. Even in contexts like her much-discussed courtroom looks, the commentary was basically neutral, clean, controlled, nothing distracting. That's Gwyneth in a nutshell. The outfit is never screaming, but it's always saying, "I have this handled." If you want to dress like her, you're not hunting one specific dress. You're building categories that she repeats across decades. Clean tailoring, especially trousers and suits, minimal dresses with strong shape, long coats that create a sleek line, fine knitwear that looks expensive without logos, and shoes that are simple but sharp. Then you keep the accessories restrained and the beauty fresh. And the reason this works is because repetition creates identity. Gwyneth doesn't look stylish because she has a million different aesthetics. She looks stylish because she has one aesthetic that she refines, again and again. To channel Gwyneth, think upgrade instead of decorate. Don't add more details, improve the quality of the details that already exist. If the outfit is simple, you make the fabric better, the fit cleaner, the silhouette stronger, the shoes sharper, and then you stop. That stopping point is crucial, because her outfits always feel like they end exactly where they should. If you're building a Gwyneth-inspired wardrobe, focus on 3 things: clean structure, controlled palette, and a calm finish. You want to look like you're not trying to impress anyone. You're just dressed like yourself, and your standards happen to be high. For outfit inspiration, think in formulas rather than exact pieces. A head-to-toe neutral base where the silhouette is the statement. A simple look upgraded by one great fabric choice. A clean, tailored shape softened by minimal styling. A monochrome outfit where the interest comes from texture and proportion, and an elevated everyday look where everything is basic, but nothing is cheap-looking. So that's Gwyneth Paltrow's style in a way that actually explains why it works. The through line is clarity. She knows her lane, she stays in it, and she makes tiny adjustments over time instead of doing big reinventions. And that's why she's still relevant now, because in a world where fashion is constantly louder and faster, her restraint feels like a flex. And that's it for today. I hope this gave you a clearer picture of why Gwyneth Paltrow's style feels so timeless, and why it still resonates, even decades later. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more celebrity-style breakdowns like this, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments who you'd like to see next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.